Putin's invasion of Ukraine will not end in a short period of time, and the West is concerned about the possibility that Putin will increasingly be able to use weapons of mass destruction as he feels a crisis of defeat. Indeed, President Biden said on March 21st that there are fairly specific signs that Russian president is considering the use of chemical and biological weapons in Ukraine. Here, the false flag operation Biden refers to is a typical Matador strategy that creates an excuse for attack by making a false claim that the opponent attacked first. The meaning of Matador is an act of disturbing the opponent by spreading unfounded stories and facts, and it refers to a tactic of finding a cause for an attack. What is often called slander and black propaganda is the Matador. Operation Matador is an attempt to get justification for Putin to use biological and chemical weapons by spreading fake news that Ukraine used biological and chemical weapons on Russian Ukrainians. In fact, Russia claimed earlier this month that a biological weapons program was conducted in Ukraine, and it was confirmed that the United States supported it behind the scenes. The Russian Ministry of Defense said the Ukrainian government is trying to disguise as Russia's war after the Ukrainian government launched a self-made plan of detonating chemical weapons against its own people. Western intelligence authorities, including the United States, believe that Russia is spreading fake news in order to have a justification for using biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. While the possibility of Russia's use of chemical weapons is rising, this time, Russia has even pulled out the card of using nuclear weapons, raising tensions in the international community. According to the Federation of American Scientists, as of 2022, Russia possesses 5,977 nuclear warheads, the largest number of any country in the world. Of these, it is estimated that about 2,000 are small nuclear weapons. CNN reported that Russia has not ruled out the use of nuclear weapons, while Reuters reported that the emphasis was placed on limiting the possibility of using nuclear weapons. The Kremlin will use nuclear weapons only if Russia's existence is threatened. Existing concerns that if NATO intervenes in the Ukraine conflict, it will escalate into a nuclear war. This is a message that Russia will not use nuclear weapons unless the Russian mainland is attacked. President Putin is taking advantage of the American fear of a nuclear war, said former acting DNI Director Comfort. However, the U.S. intelligence and surveillance capabilities are sufficiently capable of detecting Russia's use of nuclear weapons. And based on this, it can be sufficiently neutralized, he explained. Invasion of Ukraine is a very dangerous game for Putin, said Matthew Harris, senior researcher. He said Putin would pay a huge price for victory, and he predicted Putin can pose a more serious threat, such as the actual deployment of Russian nuclear weapons operation units beyond the simple rhetorical expressions. Senior researcher Matthew Harris is paying particular attention to the fact that the continuation of the Russian military struggle itself could lead to chaos within Russia and a crisis in Putin's governance base, which could become an existential threat to Putin's use of nuclear weapons. Therefore, there are concerns that Russia could use tactical nuclear weapons of limited destructive power. The New York Times reported on the 21st that Putin said that small nuclear weapons on less power than those dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan during World War II could be used in Ukraine. The Times reported on March 25th that President Biden, while visiting Europe, mentioned the possibility of Russia's use of chemical and nuclear weapons, and warned that if Russia launches such an attack, the US and NATO forces will intervene immediately. The Times reported that President Biden said that Putin misjudged the West's response. Putin believed NATO would be divided, but it is united, and has never been more united than now. Biden showed his confidence. A senior US government official also said, even if Russia does not target NATO allies and uses small tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine, the United States and NATO will be forced to intervene, the New York Times reported on the 23rd. NATO leaders then decided to prepare for Russia's escalation by deploying 4 additional combat groups in Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia. NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg said, "Our Supreme Commander has activated NATO's chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear defense units." In the end, if Putin uses chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons to break through the current crisis, Russia will also face a direct hit as it faces massive resistance from the US and NATO forces. If that happens, Russia could be in a real crisis situation. It is my opinion, what if NATO provided an exit strategy to prevent Putin from using weapons of mass destruction?